Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat. Ako po si Christian Esguera and welcome po sa ating pinakabagong Vote Wise episode dito po sa ating Facts First podcast. Sa araw na ito, bubusisiin po natin yung mga kandidato sa pagkasenador at party list na in-endorse po ng grupong Isang Bayan at ang makakausap po natin ay yung pong convener ng Isang Bayan, si retired Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Tony Carpio. Magandang araw, Justice, and thank you for joining us again dito sa Facts
Good day,
First.
Christian. Thank you for having me. Good day also to our viewers.
Nung nakita ko yung endorsement, no, parang naisip ko agad, ito pala yung pick ng Isang Bayan or ni Justice Carpio. Isa-isahin po muna natin, no? For the Senate, 8 po, ano, ang inyong ini-endorse, tama ba?
Yeah, tama.
Okay. Bakit 8?
Well, that's the most that we could choose. We may add 1 or 2 later on, pero yun yung napag-agree namin. Madaming, actually, we considered many, but we trimmed it down to the candidates that we all agreed.
Paano po yung naging proseso nung pagkilatis nyo rin sa mga
Well, our criteria were, one, first and foremost, the candidate must have integrity. No? Second, the candidate must be competent. And third, the candidate must have love for country. So in other words, patriotism. No?
Okay.
So yun yung tatlong criteria namin. And if you look at our list, lahat ito walang bahay dito. They were not involved in any anomalies or any graft or corruption. So that's integrity.
Gaano po kahaba yung naging proseso nitong pagkilatis?
Well, we started with the conveners, and then we also consulted some of our members, the chapters. No?
Okay. Ito po ba, yung mga in-endorse kasi sina Bam Aquino, Franz Castro, Luke Espiritu, Sani Matula, Heidi Mendoza, Willie Ong, Kiko Pangilinan, Ariel Curubin. They're not exactly, ano naman to, no? Alphabetical order.
Well, that's the alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pero kinausap niyo po ba sila isa-isa before you made that decision?
No, we did not. They didn't even know that we were considering them because we know them publicly. Kilala naman natin ito, no? They have public lives. They have public activities and records. They're very prominent publicly. So, and we just chose them, and they were surprised when we announced and we informed them that they have been chosen.
Okay. Isa-isahin po natin, no? Bam Aquino. You mentioned those 3 important criteria. Pero dito, specific to Bam Aquino, bakit siya dapat
Well,
iboto?
first of all, in terms of integrity, wala namang nothing against Bam. No? He was a senator before. You cannot accuse him of any anomaly, any graft or corruption. So walang bahid yan. And then competence, well, the guy graduated summa cum laude, so obviously he has brains. And he has authored the free tuition for colleges. And he has a good track record. In other words, he is competent. And of course, we cannot question his love for country also.
How about si Franz Castro? At present siya po ay party list congressman.
Yes, she is a party list, and she represents ACT, ACT party list. She's obviously, there's been nothing against her in terms of integrity. So she passed that test, and then she's also competent. She's been very active in Congress. And of course, she has been for defending the West Philippine Sea also. So her loyalty cannot be questioned also.
How about si Attorney Luke Espiritu? This will be the second time that he's running for the Senate.
Yes, well, nothing against him also in terms of integrity. He's a lawyer. He did well in the last debate, in the last elections. And he, of course, he has been very active also in public advocacy for good governance.
At saka yung against political dynasty.
Yes, against political dynasties. Yeah.
And then ito, yung labor leader si Sani Matula.
Well, he has been our candidate even in the 22 senatorial elections. He's been a labor leader for a long time with the Federation of Free Workers. He's a lawyer. He teaches law. So there's nothing we can... he has all the qualifications, really.
Ito po, newcomer, although napakatagal na sa advocacy when it comes to corruption, si former COA Commissioner Heidi
Yeah,
Mendoza.
she's the only one who belongs to Sambayan. She's a convener, and of course we know her as the fighting COA commissioner, uh, very, uh, very strict in terms of COA audit. Uh, so in terms of integrity, in terms of competence, in terms of loyalty to her job, to her profession, to the Republic. I think there's no question she has all those qualifications.
And malinis yung track record.
Malinis na track
Nakita kahit
record.
ng bahid.
She has been hired by the United Nations even, so recognized internationally also.
Okay. Yung next po, si Dr. Willie Ong. Again, this is not the first time na sasabak siya sa candidacy.
Yeah, well, he has been well known as a public advocate for public health. Nothing cannot fault him for any anomaly or any graft and corruption. Of course, he's competent. He's a doctor, well respected as a doctor, and he has been offering his services to the public ever since. So there's loyalty to public service there.
How about yung ano niya, yung health condition? Diba? He's seriously ill. How
Yeah,
big a factor was that po?
well, yes, we consider that, but it looks like that he has recovered. He has announced that he has recovered. He has been talking publicly also, so I think we gave him the benefit of the doubt for that.
Next po, former Senator Kiko Pangilinan.
Well, Kiko has been our candidate for vice president in the last election. Walang bahid din yan. Of course, he's competent. He's a lawyer, UP Law graduate. He was the student council president, several times a senator. And of course, you cannot question his patriotism also.
And then yung last endorsed candidate ninyo is former Marine. Ariel Quirobin.
Yeah, this guy is a hero. No? He's a Medal of Valor awardee. He fought the Muslim secessionists. He almost lost his life. He risked his life for the integrity of for the Republic, territorial integrity, because he was fighting secessionists. Nothing against him in terms of corruption or anything. We know him as a man of integrity, and also he's competent. He's a PMA graduate. He's competent in terms of national security, and of course his loyalty to the Republic cannot be questioned. He laid his life several times for the Republic.
Justice, yung mga nilista niyo pong criteria na ginamit ninyo at ng isang bayan for endorsing these candidates, sa mga nakakausap ko, pati sa mga tao online, sinasabi nila, nasa inyo yun eh. Why didn't you consider running for the Senate?
Well, I'm already 75, and I'd like to give the younger people a chance. And of course, there's a question of better to help these younger ones, no? And I've served my time already in government, and I think I can do more because I can focus on the West Philippine Sea, and I'm working now on the territorial dispute. We've resolved the maritime dispute, at least legally, we won that already, but the territorial dispute is still outstanding, and I'm trying to convince the government to focus on this because we don't have really a common narrative on why we're claiming Scarborough Shoal and the Calayan Island Group. There are many theories about our claim. There's Estelito Mendoza who's saying, oh, we can claim only starting 1978. There's the one school of thought saying that we start with Tomas Cloma, but that is only starting 1956. And there's the school of Senator Enrile who says we don't have a legal claim because it's outside the Treaty of Paris lines. I mean, we cannot beat China if we don't have a common narrative. We must have a common narrative that's based on facts, history, and on international law. And I'm trying to convince the government to now decide what is our legal basis, historical basis for claiming Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys, because we're asking our military, our Navy, our Coast Guard to risk their lives, but we have different theories as to why we have sovereignty over these islands. I mean, you ask this uniformed personnel to risk their lives, but you cannot explain why we are claiming these islands as our territory. We must have a common narrative because we cannot convince the world if we don't have a common narrative.
Bakit Bakit walang common narrative? Even
Because
at this stage.
Iba-iba yung theory natin eh. Sabi ni Estelito Mendoza, we only claimed the Spratlys in 1978 when PD 5096 was adopted by Marcos Sr. And sabi niya, before that, it did not belong to us. And you have Father Bernas saying, these islands are outside the Treaty of Paris lines. We cannot claim them under treaty law. So we have to look for some basis under international law. And you have Senator Enrile saying, wag na natin pag-usapan yan. Hindi sa atin yan. Squatter lang tayo doon. I mean, what do we tell to our school children? Why are we spending funds to protect, to defend the West Philippine Sea kung hindi sa atin yon? I mean, that's why I'm saying we have to agree, and I proposed we start with 1734 because it was in 1734 in an official map of Philippine territory by Spain that Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys form part of Philippine territory. We're ahead, much ahead. And if we start with 1734, we beat everybody. Legally, historically, factually, we beat everybody, but we're not articulating it correctly.
And actually, you've been going around schools,
Yes,
different
I've been
groups,
going around schools.
explaining this, the basis of it.
Yes, I've been saying that we have to adopt this position. If you have a better position, tell us. And I've been distributing the 1875 map to schools also.
So far, ano yung since we're in the topic, no? Kasi mamaya pag-uusapan natin, in China as a campaign issue, maganda na binibring up to ni Justice Carpio. So far, ano yung naging pagtanggap ng Marcos administration regarding your proposal?
Well, it's positive, but not enough. When President Bongbong Marcos spoke at the Shangri-La Dialogue in his first year in office, he said Philippine territory is defined by the Treaty of Paris as clarified by the Treaty of Washington. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying because we forgot about the Treaty of Washington. But there was no follow-up. The follow-up there is DepEd should include it as part of our curriculum to teach our school children. And the DFA should announce it to the world. Right now, there is an urgency because China submitted to the UN a note verbal drawing straight baselines around Scarborough Shoal. To draw straight baselines around, or any baselines around Scarborough Shoal, you must have territorial sovereignty. You must own it. It is you're the sovereign over that area. But China is not. What we should do is to respond to that note verbal saying China cannot draw straight baselines because China has no territorial sovereignty. The Philippines has territorial sovereignty for the following reasons. It's our opportunity to inject the reasons, our basis for claiming sovereignty over our islands in the West Philippine Sea, because China will never want to discuss that. China will not agree to submit it to arbitration. When we talk to China about territorial sovereignty, they will say, oh, there's nothing to discuss because we owned it since 2,000 years ago. And they will refuse to discuss the merits. So, but since they opened it up by submitting that note verbal to the UN, we have an opportunity to inject the sovereignty issue because you cannot draw baselines without being the sovereign. So it's a golden opportunity. But what do we say? We have no common narrative.
So we haven't commented.
We have not yet commented. We have a few more months to comment. So that's why I said it's time to agree now what should be our historical and legal basis for claiming. If we use the PD 5096, talo tayo. 1978 lang yan eh. That's too late. China claimed it claimed the Spratlys in 1947. Vietnam claimed it in 1933 as successor to France. So we have to really look carefully at the historical facts. And it's a good thing that Spain claimed it in 1734 in an official map. The 1734 Murillo Velarde map is an official map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. And andun yung Scarborough Shoal, andun yung Los Baos de Paraga, which are the Spratlys. So we beat everybody if we articulate our claim correctly.
In terms of consolidating or coming up with a unified narrative, public ang isa sa mga audience yan, definitely, no? Would it help kung magkaroon ng parang some sort of a summit of stakeholders organized by the government to harmonize all these things?
Yes, I've been suggesting, and I met last week with Secretary Sani Angara, and also Secretary Anyo was there, and I said, kayong dalawa, you form the committee, you convene, be the convener, because you have to, DepEd should teach our school children, and National Security Advisor Anyo, that is his job to defend our island territories. See, they have to develop the arguments there from a national security standpoint. So I think they are going to form a committee. I just talked to them last week about it. So I'd like to concentrate on that because I've been researching on this for a long time. And so I think it's better to focus on this than to join this senatorial race.
Malinaw. Tsaka, obvious naman na hindi ka ambisyoso. Iba kasi pag inadyokan tatakbo agad Anyway, kasi pag tinignan po natin yung mga listahan ng mga issues that voters care for, of course, got issues na nauuna. And I don't know whether you share the sentiment, parang nakakalungkot din na hindi ganun kataas yung China issue dun sa list of priorities. How big an issue should China be in this campaign po?
Well, it should be very big because the greatest threat to our territorial sovereignty and our maritime zones is China. There's only one country really claiming our island territories and maritime zones. I mean, claiming with force, using economic and military might. The others, like Malaysia and Vietnam, they're not really bullying us, no? So they're willing to talk to us. But it's only China that's using force to enforce its claim. And that is the most important foreign policy issue in the next 50 to 100 years, this Chinese claim, because this will continue beyond the term of President Marcos Jr., because China will not stop until it secures the 10-dash line as its national boundary. That will mean it will take 80%, seize 80% of our exclusive economic zone, including all the islands in the West Philippine Sea. So, and that we will lose a lot of oil, gas, fish, and other mineral resources. And we cannot allow that. I mean, the number one obligation of a state is to protect its territorial integrity and maritime zones. So we should make it on top of the list, no? Maybe, of course, people will always look at inflation, no? Because that's a gut issue. But this is also a gut issue because we're getting our gas. 40% of our energy requirement in Luzon comes from Malampaya, and that will run out of gas. It's running out of gas already. The replacement is Reed Bank, and if we don't get Reed Bank, we will have to import 40% of the energy requirement of Luzon. That means inflation will shoot through the roof. So it's also a gut issue if you look at it. And plus the fish, we get about 15% of our fish catch from the West Philippine Sea. And ngayon, we import seasonally galunggong, but we buy the galunggong from China. And where does China get the galunggong? From the West Philippine Sea. So, linuloko tayo, no? So, it's a matter of also food security for us.
Meron bang ano, sa pakikipag-usap niyo dito sa mga in-endorse sa kandidato ninyo, parang urging on the part of you and Isang Bayan na isama niyo ito sa mga discussions, sa narratives?
Yeah, they understand this because they know the position of Isang Bayan naman, no? And this guy, yes, Kerubin knows the issues.
Ang isa pang issue, Justice, ako per se alarm dito, no? Yung mga Manchurian candidates
Yeah.
in the current election campaign. In the past, ang laki ng suspecha ng marami, di ba, na meron. How do you guard against that?
Well, we just have to expose them and present alternatives, no? That's why we're saying those endorsed by former President Duterte, we should be very skeptical about them because they've been supporting Duterte in his pro-China policy, even against our national interest. So if you are pro-Duterte and pro-China, people should not vote for them.
Pero bakit kaya parang hirap yung ibang mga botante po na i-connect yun? They feel passionately about what China is doing against the Philippines sa West Philippine Sea, pero hindi nila makonect yung pambubuli doon sa mga kandidatong pro-China.
Yes, there's a disconnect, and that also applies to Duterte because 80 to 90% of people are against China, but when it comes to Duterte, they're still for Duterte.
Yeah.
So there is a disconnect. It's up to us really to explain it to the people, no?
Pero bakit kaya po? Parang meron siyang Teflon na characteristic when it comes to China na clearly siya publicly
Yes.
sinasabi niya.
Pinasasabi niya na he loves President Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
Pero hindi tumatalab sa tao, no? But the people are mad at China. So there's disconnect, no? We're trying to explain it na he's really pro-China, and it's dangerous to have a fellow like him and people whom he support to be in the Senate.
Given the issues that you mentioned po, no, how important this particular election is, this midterm election is?
Well, this is important because China now is doubling on its claim. You can see them going near to us. Their objective really is to enforce the 10-dash line as their national boundary. And that's why they're sending their big ships to so that we'll get used to that. You know, that's to make it the norm.
Yeah.
That's their objective. So we must have, and the Senate is important in terms of foreign policy because that's it gives advice and consent to the president when it comes to treaties, no? So we should elect senators who will defend our sovereign rights and sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea, no?
Are you also preparing for 2028? Kasi 3 years from now, presidential election naman, hindi ba delikado ko yung manalo naman ay pro-China?
Yes, to prepare for that, for 2025, 2028, we are educating the people why we should protect the West Philippine Sea, no? Because once they accept that is a given that we must protect. So kahit sinong ma-elect, whether it's another Duterte, that president will have a hard time giving away the West Philippine Sea to China because the people will oppose it, no? So it will be more difficult for anybody who's pro-China to win the presidency if the people know exactly our rights there, why we should protect our claim, our territorial and maritime rights in the West Philippine Sea.
So aside from the Senate, meron kayo endorse na 8 po, no? Pero you're also endorsing party list organizations.
Yes, we are endorsing 7 party list organizations.
Why 7?
Because you can vote only one actually.
Opo.
And then, you know, there are 60 million Filipinos probably who will vote. And if you get 1 million votes, that means you have 3. You reach the maximum if you're a party list, because it's about one party list representative per 300,000 voters. So but you have 60 million, so we can spread it out, no? So that the party list representatives will come from different sectors.
Isa-isahin po natin yung in-endorse siya, no? Sino po yung mga party list organizations that you endorse po?
Well, we endorse in order of appearance in the ballot, we endorse the Kabataan Party List. This is a party list of current party list representative Raul Manuel, and one of the nominees here is Attorney Rene Co. She was one of our conveners in the Isambayan. No?
2022.
Oh, yeah. Mamayang Liberal, that's you have there Lilia De Lima, and I think
Erin Tañada
Erin Tañada
Teddy Bagilat.
and Teddy Bagilat as the nominees.
And then next organization.
Next, we have the ACT Teachers Party List. Of course, that's also the party list of Franz Castro. So they've been very active in the Quadcom, also in the West Philippine Sea. And then you have Magdalo Party List, also part of the coalition of Sambayan before. And you have Akbayan, also part of our coalition. You have
led by Chel Jokno.
Chel Jokno. And then you have Bayan Muna, also part of the Sambayan. And Bunyog, this is something new. This is based in Bicol. And they have been, they're very active also in social media. So they were surprised why we chose them, but because they're very active, they're new, and we decided to give them a chance.
Justice, isa sa mga challenges dito sa campaign na ito is, di ba merong, nag-aaway yung unity, Duterte at Marcos. And of course, ang sinasabi ng iba, this is a good opportunity to present an alternative. Isa po sa mga tanong ko, bakit kaya hindi nakapaglabas ng common slate yung real opposition para hindi naman siya nahahijack ni Duterte? And I think, given the list that you mentioned, they represent the real opposition. Miski ideologically, magkakaiba yung iba sa kanila.
Well, the traditional opposition has been decimated really in the last election. And you can look at the Liberal Party, they have only 2 senatorial candidates. And because the 2 political dynasties now, the Marcos Romualdez dynasty and the Duterte are fighting to the death now. You have the Makabayan group thinking that they can be a third force. They submitted almost a complete slate. We also offer the people an alternative. We have 8 in our slate. We may add 1 or 2 in the coming months. So we are there to offer an alternative still.
Will you also organize some sort of a forum or debate sa isang bayan para i-present itong mga
we will have an online talakayan to introduce them in a series of online fora.
Yung debate, how important is that? Because we saw in 2022, yung mga leading candidates, they actually skip the legitimate debates. Dito, may nagbabanta na, yung parang may fear na, pag leading ka na, hindi na ako sasalang dyan, baka matalo pa ako.
Yes, that seems to be the attitude of the front runners. No? In fact, there was a debate sponsored by GMA recently for the senatorial balls, and almost all of the known, the top candidates in the surveys did not appear. Only our nominee, Heidi Mendoza, appeared, but she said the rest did not appear.
Justice, sa ganyan, is there a way to compel them to attend?
Well, the only one that can compel them to attend will be the COMELEC, if the COMELEC sponsors a forum for that. No.
Pero let's say, kinampel sila ng COMELEC but they refuse legally.
Well, there's no sanction.
Kasi nainisip ko, dahil diba yung requirements under the Constitution, very basic. Baka pag sinabi na, pag hindi ka umattend, pwede ka ma-disqualify. Can that be done?
No, it's not. It's not a ground for disqualification.
Yeah.
It's up to them. That happened last elections. Hindi sumipot si Bongbong, di ba? So, the presumption is that if you don't appear, it's your loss. But it looks like it's the other way around now. They don't want to appear because they're already in the top 5 of top 10. No?
Nga, baka madisgrasya pa raw.
Baka madisgrasya pa. Matabunan sila. No?
Pero in terms of siguro moving forward, can the COMELEC come up with the rule na pag hindi ka umattend, you might be disqualified? Or you would have to come up with a law or some amend the Constitution? What do you think po?
Well, there is definitely no law that says that. If there's a law, it might not be, I don't know if that will be considered, is that a ground for disqualification, because you can show all your credentials through the website of the COMELEC. So what the people should understand is if you don't appear there, they should not consider you, because they have a right to know what you have to offer to the electorate, no? And if you don't appear, that means you don't even care to explain your platform.
So it's more of public pressure.
Yeah, it's more on public pressure.
Dito po sa bilang panghuli justice, kunwari, kausap niyo ordinary voter, what would you tell them in terms of making the right decisions on election day?
Well, if you notice, none of the candidates for the Senate that we are endorsing are in the top 12. Maybe Kiko is number 13 right now. No, he's moving up because we base our choice on those 3 criteria: integrity. The candidate must have integrity, competence, and patriotism, loyalty to the country. And you look at some of those in the top 10, the top 12. They're just entertainers. I don't want to demean them, but they have their competence, providing entertainment, but lawmaking is something else, no? I mean, so our people should be more discerning. There was a time when the electorate voted only the really top caliber candidates, no, in terms of integrity, competence, education, and so on. But we seem to have lowered our standards, and the result is we're having this kind of governance. You have a 2025 General Appropriations Act, where Congress did not appropriate anything for PhilHealth, where education has been relegated. You have a pork barrel in DPWH, where the 4-piece, they removed 50 billion from the 4-piece program and put it to DPWH or to ACAP, which is a dole-out to by politicians. 4-piece are okay because there's a program for that. It's you have to qualify, you have an obligation to send your children to school, to have them checked up by Department of Health. So, but our electorate will have to understand that they have to elect the best people if they want good governance.
Justice Carpio, maraming salamat po as always. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you also, Christian. Okay. Thank you to our viewers.
At dyan po nagtatapos ang ating latest VoteWise episode dito po sa ating Facts First podcast. Tandaan niyo po, malayo pa yung eleksyon. May pagkakataon pa para mas kilalanin at kilatisin yung mga tumatakbo sa iba't ibang mga posisyon. Ako po si Christian Esguerra. Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat.